your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story with Dennis Henson. This is a brand new series we hope that you will enjoy, and it's called Body of Health. Dennis, welcome, and let us start out by telling people about, I guess best way to put it is, our disclaimer.
Okay. Well, Richard, thank you so much for having me on this series. I'm really excited about doing this, but I think it's very important that everyone understand that neither of us are medical doctors or have any kind of medical training. We are just people who are very interested in health and being able to get better faster, so that if you have some problem, that gives you a place to go to find things that have worked for other people that may help you, or they may not, but there'll be something worthwhile checking out.
Body of Health is going to be here every week. The website that we're going to suggest you go to for information, number one website is dennisjhenson.com, which we will have in the audio and video podcast videocast. But there's also a Facebook location, and basically it's facebook.com/groups/body of health. Once again, facebook.com/groups, that's plural, groups/body of health. We hope that you will go there to check out the information that Dennis has provided with us. And with that, we move into Body of Health. I am Reverend Dr. D. He is Dennis Henson. And yes, we're here once again to help you to improve the quality of your health. Dennis, once again, it's great to be back with you. And the subject is going to be, I think, a lot of fun to talk about. It really is, even though some people will say, "You're taking the fun out of my life." We'll explain that in a moment, but it's good to see you.
Well, thank you, Richard. I really appreciate you having me, and I really enjoy the series that we're doing.
Absolutely. Well, now, you and I, you're already in your 70s, and I'm in my 60s, and mids. We're in the mid part of that, I guess. And I want to live, I've said it many times, to be 100. I want to outlive my great-grandmother on my mother's side, who lived to be 100. I don't know if I'll ever get that letter from the governor saying congratulations, but that's okay. But I want to do it with a quality of health. And we've talked about all of the things to do to optimize your health, many of the things that will really help you out.
Right.
Well, today's program, we're going to be talking about 15 things and then some to avoid to live longer. And of course, we're not going to be talking necessarily about drinking and smoking. There's a certain element of self-evidentness, if you will,
Right.
in avoiding that. Obviously, due to a lot of the side effects with alcohol, and obviously the side effects with smoking. And it doesn't matter whether it's cigarettes, a pipe, cigars, marijuana, whatever it is that you're. And that's the other thing why I move when we're sitting around a fireplace that's outside, and the wind blows the smoke my way, I move. I don't want to breathe that in either. But that's a different kind of smoke. So let's talk a little bit about that. And of course, we certainly can mention a little disclaimer, obviously, that we have at the front of every one of these programs, that neither Dennis nor I are doctors. We don't have medical degrees. It's not our area necessarily of expertise, other than we're trying to do the best we can to improve our health and well-being. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And of course, last week we talked about the things that you could do, as I mentioned, to improve your health and your longevity. And obviously today it's a whole, it's sort of the flip side of that coin, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes. Today we're going to talk about things that you should avoid in order to live longer. And
Yeah.
I think you may be surprised at some of these. We'll see. Some of them are pretty evident, but some of them are, maybe I didn't think about that.
Yeah. And I know too that there are certain instances that sometimes we might talk a little bit about our environment, where we live, where we work, and so forth. And that may be a sort of a separate conversation. But let's go ahead and start with the first one. What is that?
The first one is avoid sleep deprivation. You should always strive to get 7 or 8 good quality hours of rest to give your body time to rejuvenate and your brain. So avoid staying up too late at night. It's easy to start watching TV or scrolling through and
Oh, yeah.
watching things on your phone, and the next thing you know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, you need to avoid that. You need to get into bed early enough so that you can get 7 or 8 good quality hours of sleep and try to sleep the same hours every night. Another thing is getting up too early. If you set your clock too early and you only got 5 hours sleep, that's not a good thing. So
Mm.
it takes planning, and you have to be aware of it, and you need to make it a habit. Watching too many blue lights, your phone screen or your TV screen
Mhm.
late into the night will cause you not to be able to sleep or go to sleep and get that good deep rest that you need. Another thing would be avoid eating too late. Maybe you'll say from
Mhm.
8 o'clock on, I'll have nothing else. It's
Mhm.
it's easy to have dinner and then think, well, I think I'll have a snack. Well,
Mhm.
that tastes good and makes you feel better, but it disrupts your sleep cycle. Um, Another thing would be if you drink coffee, you need to remember how long the caffeine stays in your system, usually 5 or 6 hours. So you
Mhm.
need to take that into account and avoid having a coffee later on in the day, even if it's morning clarity.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Speaking of which, I have my cup of morning clarity in front of me here. And the funny thing is, the way my schedule's been going lately, I make the pot of coffee at 6 a.m. because I get up at 6. Just it's just a natural thing. I don't even need the alarm sometimes. And I'll go make my pot of coffee, and I will drink that pot of coffee until I get my 3 cups, which is what my pot holds. But sometimes with my schedule, I'm still drinking it at 11 or 12 o'clock, and I'll stick the cup in the microwave just to reheat it, you know. And it's like, I don't want to throw this out. I don't want to waste it. And so I just want to finish it off. And so I try to do that. A matter of fact, I've got 3/4 of a cup right here, and it's cold right now because I've been sitting here in the studio waiting to get on here with you. So when we're done here, I got to run upstairs, put it in the microwave, heat it up, and continue going through that pot of coffee. Something I wanted to ask you about, though, in regards to sleep, specifically, because obviously the caffeine is going to affect that and all these other things. Where do naps fall in this whole equation regarding sleep?
Well, naps are a good thing. You don't want to avoid naps. You'd
Hmm.
probably want to avoid extra long naps.
Mm.
It seems if you nap for more than 45 minutes, then that's going to disturb your sleep cycle. But if you can keep your nap short, 20, 25 minutes, they actually are good for you and help you to rejuvenate and have a better. But if you take an hour nap, you kind of get groggy afterwards, and then it makes it harder to well, your sleep cycle is already disturbed.
Yeah. I know too that there's a side benefit to sleeping, or I should say, discontinuing intake of food at a certain point at night, when you're headed for bed or something like that. And the other side benefit, from what I understand, is that it helps your blood sugar to stay more balanced. That your body's going to be processing for several hours after you stop eating.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, they tell me that, okay, you do not want to take your blood sugar, you don't want to test it within that 2 hour window after you've eaten, because your body is processing. You want to wait. If you can wait 3 or more hours after you've eaten, that's when you want to check it. And so when I get up in the morning, I don't always check it right away, and so forth. But I will, maybe after I have at least made my pot of coffee at 6 a.m., I'll check it and see where it's at. So there are some side benefits on top of another one too. Late meals, if you may have the propensity for acid reflux. I used to, but I tied that to the foods I was eating. If it was too like I love spare ribs, barbecue spare ribs. Oh man, I love. But there's a lot of fat in that, and so now I've eaten those at night, and now my system is trying to process that with all of the acids and everything, and I end up with acid reflux, waking up and so forth. So there's another benefit. I think we'll have our meals around 7:30. Usually we're done by 8. Might throw in a little dessert like believe it or not, a sugar-free fudge sickle. All right, just a single one, not the double, but the single,
Ah,
or something like that. Or if we have a box of cookies, all right, and nothing so overly sweet, we'll have one cookie, just one. Or if we buy some kind of frozen ice cream or something of this nature, we'll have a very small bowl of it just to get you through.
right. You mentioned acid reflux. I
Yes.
had for most of my life really, really bad. And then I found out a pinch of Celtic salt under your tongue. If you do that 3 times a day, you won't have acid reflux anymore.
Well, I'll
And
tell you what, that's going to tie into our next subject here. But first, I want to remind you that are listening and watching. This is the Body of Health series with Dennis Henson and yours truly, Reverend Dr. D, here on Tell Me Your Story. You can go to the website. There are actually two of them, but you can get to one through the other. The first one is dennisjhenson.com, where you can go to the health tab, click on that. It'll also take you, there's another link that you can click on under the health tab or within that page to take you to the Body of Health group on Facebook. And then I want to get this right, Dennis. Bodyofhealth.life, Life, correct?
correct.
All right, and they will find all kinds of great stuff. That the items that are showing up there at bodyofhealth.life are growing. The coffee is available, several other things that we'll talk about a little bit later on the program. But we'll continue talking here on Tell Me Your Story. Reverend Dr. D and Dennis Henson, that doctor is not medical. We are not doctors. We're just trying to help. We're just trying to help. Now we're going to move on to something you mentioned, and I might have even been in the first or second program of this series, having
What?
to do with consuming poisons and staying away from the white foods. And one of them you mentioned, but what you mentioned was the good white food, i.e., the salt. What are the two others? Or
Well,
some of the others?
you want to stay away from sugar. I mean, that's pretty well known. Sugar,
Mhm.
table salt is really not good for you. If you take too much of it, it can cause all kind of health problems.
Mm.
White flour is another one, and unfermented dairy like sweet milk. But now, if you get into the more fermented dairy, then it's okay. Same way with the salt. If you take Celtic salt or Himalayan salt or just the sea salt, those have the minerals. They're
Hmm.
good for you. They have good things in you. The more you take, the better.
Yeah.
Actually, it will help you in a number of different ways. But that's not true for table salt. So you have to keep the two different. They kind of taste the same,
Hmm.
but they the effect on your health is tremendous, makes a tremendous difference.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Can I
avoid,
ask you? Can I ask you about the fermented dairy? Are we talking about? Because the first thought that came to my mind, because my mother did this when we were kids growing up, she made yogurt. Is that considered a fermented dairy?
yes, yogurt's good for you. Kefir, there's yeah. Uh, what I would suggest that you would do is do some study about what each one of these things do for you. But fermented food generally is good for you,
Hmm.
whether it's cabbage that makes kraut or whatever. But the fermentation, it's good for your gut. And if you have good gut health, everything else kind of follows along.
That's good stuff. Now, there are all kinds of oils out there, and I know people have their favorites, but there's one type of oil or a series of types of oils that you kind of want to stay away from. What are those?
Well, it's seed oil, corn oil. You what? what you want is extra virgin olive oil, and you want the very best class of extra virgin olive oil, which you can find on my website, bodyofhealth.life. I try to make the things that we talk about easy to find. And so
Hmm.
that every week we put up two new things uh, just to make them easier for you to find. But coconut oil is good for you, extra virgin olive oil. Coconut oil is really good for your brain. You know, people who are getting forgetful about 12 or 14 years ago, I found myself going to the refrigerator and looking and thinking, why did I come here? Or I would come out of the mall and I think, I know my car is here somewhere, but I have no idea where it is. Or I'll just be walking into a room and think, well, why did I come into the room? So that was concerning to me.
Hmm.
So then I heard a program it was it's on still on YouTube. It was a lady whose husband was losing his ability to think. And so one of the things that the test was they had him draw a clock and he couldn't even draw a circle. And the
Mm.
things that he tried to draw a clock and he put the hands and the numbers outside the clock. I mean, it was terrible. So she was a physician and thought, well, a great way to get oxygen to the brain is through coconut oil. So she tested it. She started giving him as much as she possibly could. And then she had him draw the clock after 6 weeks. And it's on YouTube. You can see it. The clock is a round circle. The numbers they're not great, but they're in the right place. And the hands are in the middle of the clock. That to me, that just had a tremendous impact. So I went to Kroger and I bought everything in Kroger that had coconut in it.
Cleaned them out.
Candy, coconut milk, a coconut. I bought everything. And I put it in my diet, and that was 14 years ago, and that never happens anymore. I know where
Mm.
my car is. I know why I went to the refrigerator, and I attribute it all to that one simple change. So, give it a try if you're having any of those issues.
Mm. Well, I think that all of these items are really, really good to consider, and we certainly hope that people will at least take a look. Okay, we're not telling you to do anything. We're just asking you to consider the possibilities. One of the next ones here has to do with water in regards to having sufficient fluid. If I'm remembering my biology correctly, the human body is made up of somewhere in the neighborhood of 95% water. And so, got to keep that level up.
Well, dehydration is a real problem because if you don't have enough water, your body's what 90 something percent liquid. So you got to have water to keep it working. Your body is kind of like a battery, and the battery needs water and it needs salt. So you don't want to neglect drinking water, but even more than that, hydration is more important than just water. So, how do you get your body more hydrated with the water you drink? That's by adding electrolytes. And the way to do that is, again, Celtic salt or sea salt. You put it a little bit under your tongue when you drink a glass of water, and you hydrate much, much faster.
Mm. Well, I tell you, it is again something that we need to be aware of. Now, let's talk a little bit here about. Now, certainly, you've already mentioned just mentioned about water with electrolytes and so forth, and of course, there are other liquid products that claim to have electrolytes in them. There's a movie, I don't know if you've seen it, called Idiocracy, and in it, society has progressed in 2525 or 2550 to the point where they are now using these Rainbird sprinklers to put a particular liquid. It's called Rondo. Now, it's green. Why are they sprinkling Rondo on the plants? Because Rondo has electrolytes, and it's what plants like. And that's the logic in that movie. So, you want to be real careful when it comes to finding the right products that have what you need and can help you. What about water that deal with the whole pH issue?
Well, I think if the water that you drink stays in the middle so that it's not acidic or alkaline, you'll be safe. But I think if you're going to go one direction or another, I think the alkaline is probably better for you. But again, research, do the research. The way I healed myself after my stroke was when I'm walking every day, I walk several miles a day. I listen to someone that I trust on YouTube that's talking about something that may be affecting my health. And if you do that every day for 2 or 3 years, you become a lot more healthy.
Hmm. Well, it's something obviously we need to take a look at and make sure that we stay hydrated, but hydrated with the right stuff. I and my wife, and it's primarily because of our cat that put us on distilled water. We were told that you might want to consider having given your cats distilled water because there's a lot of minerals, whether it's coming from the tap or if you buy just regular drinking water, which for the cat, very sensitive urinary tract, develops what we humans call kidney stones. They call them crystals, and they can be just as painful, if not more. And we had a cat who we renamed. His name was Rupert, but after 2 bouts of those crystals, we called him our $6,000 cat. That's how much it cost to get him back in health, and we're glad we did it. We would have spent more if it was necessary, but that's why we switched to distilled water. But everybody has to make their own choices. We ask you to do that, which is what life is all about. A bunch of choices, which is what my book, Choices: 5 Steps for Life is about. Well, we'll talk more about all of these different things as we continue talking with Dennis Henson and yours truly, Richard Dugan, here on the Body of Health series on Tell Me Your Story. Reverend Dr. D, Dennis Henson, along with the work we're talking about here. We're now going to jump into our next area, and this may be for some, this may be hard. This may be also controversial as well. We don't intend it to be, but it's something that we need to consider. I'm going to give you a real quick, very short story. I was working with a gal back in Phoenix in mid 90s, and she was taking upwards of 9 different medications.
Hmm.
And I was saying, well, what are you taking all those for? And she started going down this list. Well, number 1 was for this. And then number 2 is the side effects for number 1. And 3 was for the side effects from 2 and so forth. I said, you need to go to your doctor and you need to talk to your doctor and say, hey, look, I'm taking these 9 medications and that just doesn't make sense. And this is, of course, what we advise everybody to do anyway. But this is one of the areas in terms of one of the 15 things you want to try to stay away from as much as you can, the pharmaceutical overdose and obviously over-the-counter medications.
I totally agree. Before I had my stroke, I had a cough. I couldn't get rid of it. It just got worse and worse. And so I would take something, and then somebody would recommend something else. And it got up to the point where I was taking 5 or 6 or 7 things, and the cough just got worse. And I got on one of the online phone calls to a nurse, and she prescribed something else. And
Hmm.
when I took that one, then I had the stroke. So it wasn't a coincidence. You can just overdose on trying to correct symptoms when what I needed to do was correct the problem. So you just need to be careful and don't go to the drugstore and buy 10 different things and think, well, if this one don't work, maybe this one will and this one will. No, no, you want to get healthy by doing healthy things and eating healthy things and drinking healthy things and avoid too many chemicals.
Mm. And we sometimes we get a lot of these chemicals and we don't even realize it through some of the things that we're doing, that we're eating and so forth. Or sometimes it is some of these over-counter things. Something else there's this other aspect that we didn't really talk too much about, but we can here, and that is, especially when it talks about food and the different ingredients, and you almost, if you can't pronounce it,
Don't read.
don't
Don't.
eat it.
Yeah.
Don't eat it. That's I think that's a good rule of thumb for a lot of folks in that regard is to get as matter of fact when you pick up a product in the grocery store and for example I'm looking for a specific type of cinnamon, okay, and I bought this one kind of cinnamon. I bought it online. It didn't specify where it was coming from, and I've heard it said that there is this one type called, I think it's cyan cinnamon, that's considered to be better than any of the others. Uh, but the one I got, I think it might have had what's called Saigon cinnamon, and there are many different types.
Mhm.
But then I started looking at the ingredients, and I'm going, there were three ingredients in this container. One of them was cinnamon, but then there were two others, and I'm going, what? I don't understand. And I know that in a lot of instances, for example, they're going to put in there something to keep it fresh. If it's a powder, they want to make sure that it doesn't clump up, those kinds of things. But
Right.
well, then maybe you shouldn't buy such a large amount. Maybe I shouldn't buy such a large amount where I have to risk that so that I can just get that raw unfiltered or what have you, powdered cinnamon that I can put. Where do I put it? I put it in my mushroom coffee. So,
That's great. Yes, everyone should make it a habit to look at the ingredients on everything that you purchase, and you're going to be surprised. I mean, I started because I don't want to put any sugar in my body. I
mhm,
just zero sugar. So every time we get something, I look at the package, what's the sugar content, and
mhm.
then I started looking at the other things. And it's amazing what they'll put in food to preserve it, but it's not going to preserve you. So you need to be careful about what you put in your body.
Yeah. There's another one we'll talk about here, which almost seems self-evident. I'm going to talk about. I was sharing with you a story where my wife and I were at the laundry, and we purchased laundry, both fabric softener and laundry soap, now primarily that has no color and no perfumes. All right. We don't
Yes,
need that in our sheets or our shirts or whatever.
that's right.
Uh, and that's kind of self-evident, but we got to clean the house, Dennis, and so we got to buy this product and that product for the tub and the bath and the toilet bowl and the floors. And then when you start thinking about all that stuff, if you have animals, and we have cats, and their little tender paws are touching that floor all the time, or if they
Yes.
jump up on the counter, and they can take in some of these toxins. Let's talk a little bit about the hidden toxin load and what you inhale that could potentially kill you that you need to avoid.
Well, there's more than one way. I mean, you can inhale it, or you can touch it, or you can ingest it. I mean, you can take
Yeah.
it into your body through
Hmm.
several different ways. But harsh chemicals are deadly. I mean, if you want to get your floor absolutely beautiful, if you have a tile floor, muriatic acid is great. I mean, it will absolutely, when it touches the floor, it will clean it beautifully, and you'll be dead in about 5 minutes if you don't have the door
Yeah.
open
Yeah.
and well ventilated.
Hmm.
But you need to know things like that.
Yeah.
It's critical. And some of the things that you purchase, if you mix them together, it creates a deadly poisonous gas.
Yeah.
So it's you need to avoid harsh chemicals and try to clean with things that are safe,
Hmm.
like baking soda and just regular soap and things like that. And if you want to experiment, you need to do the research before you start experimenting.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing that people don't realize is when you get a new carpet, it may have uncured plastic as a base.
Ah.
If you inhale that, it can be deadly. It can make you very, very sick.
Mm.
Or at one time, I had a relative that changed the carpet in his office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And breathing the fumes from the carpet caused his lungs to solidify on the inside and it killed him.
Oh my heavens.
He couldn't, it got to where he couldn't have any oxygen. We rushed him to the hospital and he died in a couple of just from the carpet fumes.
Wow.
So you have to be careful when you're purchasing trash bags. Don't inhale the trash bags when you take them out of the package to put them in the trash can. If you inhale that, it can be poisonous. It can hurt you. So you need to be aware and avoid these things. And even certain perfumes perfumes they put like you talked about in the soap. They
right.
Put perfumes in soap. If you're going to wash your clothes, get the ones that don't have the added chemicals and perfumes and so forth. But be aware of what you smell. If you're walking, I walk a lot, and some people run. If a truck passes you that's emitting fumes, you need to hold your breath until that truck gets out of the way or take a detour and get away from that. You do not want to inhale those fumes because they'll remain in your body for a long time. And the only way to get them out is by doing a sauna, it takes a while for your body to recoup from that kind of thing. So anyway, avoid toxic loads.
Another thing that just came to mind, my wife and I, in our endeavors to make this house a home, we want to paint some of the doors, like to the upstairs bathroom and bedroom, even to the downstairs, and even in the little corridor that's at the bottom of the stairs that leads here into the studio as well as the master bedroom. Well, there are no windows, not open ones anyway. So when we do paint, when we get to that point, number one, what we will look for are paints that do not have toxic fumes or that will be okay in that regard. Otherwise, we're not going to do that. Well, I will go buy a mural or a wall hanging to cover up some of the blemishes on the wall instead of paint. But as far as the doors are concerned, I thought, well, I guess I should take them off the hinges, take the hinges off the door, take the door outside and paint it, let it dry, and then bring it back in and put it back up on the frame. To avoid that whole issue regarding the fumes, because neither of us needs that. My wife is very sensitive to those things, and it can still affect me as well. So these are the kinds of things we need to start thinking through when we're getting ready to do something around the house, whether it's cleaning or painting or whatever the case might be. And for that matter, I'll even throw this one in, Dennis, because this can cause irritation as well. And that is if you are using a saw to cut something and the sawdust can get real fine and start floating around, and you can inhale that too. And that's not good. You don't want to inhale wood, whether it's sawdust or smoke from a fire, either way, because that's still wood. You want to think these things through. At the very least, wear a mask. All right. That will help to protect you to some degree. We're going to continue here talking with Dennis Henson here on Body of Health. Bodyofhealth.life is the website we encourage you to go to, as well as DennisJHenson.com, and then click on that health link. We hope you'll go there and do that. And when we get back, we're going to talk more about avoiding those things that can shorten your life, or at least not let you live as long as you like to. And we're going to get to the heart of the matter. Yes, we are, ladies and gentlemen. That's a clue as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. We are here on Body of Health, the series that Dennis and I have put together and are sharing with you our insights, our perspectives, our observations, and a lot of information Dennis has collected over the last, well, basically 8 years since you had all those strokes. And we're going to talk now about the emotional aspects that can shorten your life. And I know that there will be those, and my wife and I are kind of, we try to stay away from the wording of this, but we have Irish blood in us, and Irish blood kind of tells you that, well, the Irish, they tend to worry a lot, and that's not good on the system. So let's talk a little bit about some of these stressors to our hearts that we need to find ways to, I don't want to say avoid, but to process. So if we're going to be stressed, it's short lived, okay? And then we find ways to feel better and say, oh, I'm not stressed now because.
Well, what you're saying is really true. It can affect your health. And I would say yes, do avoid worry because worry can't help.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a natural thing to feel worried, but you need to try to compensate for that by
Hmm.
thinking of positive things. So if something bad happens or is going to happen, what good is worry going to do? If you
Hmm.
think, oh no, I'm going to lose my job. Okay. If you're going to lose your job, is worry going to help that? Or is doing something positive to try to either keep your job or find another one? Which one's going to help most? Well, the worry is going to affect your physical health. So you may
Yep.
not need a job. You may be going to die.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
so worrying is not something that's good. And if you can find a way to get around that and do something positive instead of worry, that's going to be a lot better for your health and for your future. Another thing is anger. You
Mm,
know, if you just, you got sometimes you're going to get mad, but don't hold on to it. I mean, just get mad and get over it.
yeah.
So if you stay mad for a long time, that's going to affect your health. And then another one would be holding grudges. You get upset with someone for something, and then every time you think about them, you think of 1,000 things you'd do to them if you got a chance. But it's not hurting them.
Yeah,
It's only hurting you. So
exactly.
uh,
Eh,
try to be positive. Try to live a
mm.
positive life rather than a negative life. A positive life is healthy. A negative life is very unhealthy.
And I've heard a secret ingredient to that positive life, Dennis, and has something to do with reading something every day. What is that all about?
But if you read something positive every day that moves you toward your goal, that's the centerpiece of my book, Real Impact Daily Inspiration. So that book was written to help people form that habit. And another good habit is gratitude.
Mm,
So if you're feeling gratitude, you can't feel worry or anger or hold a grudge.
mm.
So anytime those things happen, you kind of transform your thinking into
Yeah.
something that you have gratitude for.
Yeah. And I will tell you that we have some real life examples of people who are angry, who are holding a grudge, and we are watching them in public life. We're watching them deteriorate. I mean, it's self-evident. People are picking up on these things from different people who that's somehow they learn that behavior. It's not something that you are born with. You learn it. And I feel sad for the people who are slowly but surely. I mean, I see older men and women walking around. They look like a question mark, and my first thought is, what burden are they still carrying around? Number one, and then the sourpuss looking faces on some of these older folks because they've been angry or they've been holding a grudge or been resentful and so forth. And again, and yet I also see a lot of other folks in their later years too. They got the broadest smile on their face. They just are the cheeriest people in the world. And I don't think that they're, living in a fake world. It's just that their disposition is so much different because their perspective on their life is different, and they may be reading something positive and inspirational every day, and it's made all the difference in the world. Let's move on to one other here, and that has to do with something that I have always been concerned about. I remember when I first got into broadcasting, and I would see some of the older broadcasters, whether they were DJs or what have you, and a lot of them were really heavy. And I thought, for some, I was able to intuitively pick up on how that happened, how they got so heavy, and it wasn't just what they were eating. But one of the other aspects has to do with this sedentary life that they live. They're sitting in that chair in front of that console for 4 to 8 hours a day doing whatever they're doing instead of getting up every few minutes and walking around, or what we've talked about on this program about rebounding. Let's talk a little bit about that in terms of its effect on us and how we can do less sedentary living.
Well, your body was not built to just sit and do nothing. You have muscles and they need to be working
Hmm.
and you need to be moving. If you're not moving, then you're probably not going to be around much longer. So you need to plan to do things that are going to get you moving.
Hmm.
You need to do exercise or walking or intermittent exercising or rebounding. So the things to avoid is prolonged sitting. If you sit in the office all day long, go sit in the car and drive home for an hour and then sit down in your chair and you do that till you go to bed, that's not good. I mean, you're not working the muscles that need to be worked. If you're binging on TV, let's say you're off for 2 or 3 days and all you do is just watch a series all day long and all night long, you need to avoid that. It's okay to watch a series, but get up and go do something every single day, or zombie scrolling on your social media. And that seems to be the new thing. People just, they just get on their phone and just scroll. And my wife does that.
Hmm.
So uh, plan some activity. Get up and go. Do some running or play with the kids. Or I love walking. I mean, I love to get my
Mm.
dog and we just go walking. And I do the scrolling during that time or listen to the health tapes. And I'd love to listen to the World War II recaps and that kind of thing. But the walking and moving is what helped. And then the rebounding is we had a whole program on rebounding. That's how good that is.
Yeah.
That will help you avoid just sitting around and deteriorating and dying.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, Dennis, what we're going to do is we're going to take another little pause here to remind folks that you are listening to and watching Body of Health. It's a series that continues on, and it's part of Tell Me Your Story as well. And we're going to continue this next week because there's still so much yet to cover. So we'll have part two of this series next week as we continue here, and we'll also continue this program as we wrap things up here on Tell Me Your Story. It's the Body of Health series here on Tell Me Your Story with Dennis Henson, author of the Real Impact Daily Inspiration. It's the inspiring book. It's a nice, thick book of stories and quotes and poems, as well as a series of book lists. And I say you have three in there. One's of the it's sort of the bibliography. There's also a list of books that you recommend people read that you have found inspirational and helpful in your life. And then there's the third one I like to refer to, the series of books that Abraham Lincoln read. And many people, they admire this guy like you wouldn't believe. And you have to wonder sometimes, and it's a sad thing to think about, the assassination thereof. But you have to wonder sometimes if the guy had been able to finish out his term, what that would have been like. I'm not even sure how far into that term he was before he was taken out. But the books that he read that got him to where he is Just incredible. Dennis, I'm going to let you wrap things up for this part one of the 15 things to avoid to live longer, and then we'll continue this on next week.
Well, thank you, Richard. I appreciate you having me today. I hope everyone will visit the website bodyofhealth.life. All of the series that we're doing is recapped. So you'll be able to go back. If you didn't get the things we talked about today, you'll be able to go back and get those in written form. And there's a number of other things there. There's products. We talk about the different things that you should use and that you shouldn't use. And those are available too there. And if you use the code radio, you get a nice discount if you decide to purchase anything.
There you go. And it'll also tell Dennis that you've been listening to Body of Health right here on Tell Me Your Story. And we certainly hope that you'll go there. And I would also recommend, you looking for something inspiring to read? Well, why don't you go to realimpactbook.com. There's a lot of fun stuff there, as well as the your opportunity to get your own copy of Real Impact Daily Inspiration. You can search for the lamp that happens to be on the cover of the book, but it's hidden somewhere on the pages of realimpactbook.com. You can also, if you already have Ultimate or Unlimited Kindle, I should say, you already have your opportunity there, right there, for a free copy via Kindle. Or you can also order a hardcover or paperback version. We hope that you'll go there and do just that. And Dennis, we'll do part two of this series here of this particular subject matter regarding the 15 things to avoid to live longer. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next week. And we'll talk to you folks next week right here on Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love Talal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I will see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. To my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.